Hey everyone, Michael O'Brien here. Today we're going to talk about what to do when you show up to a gig and there's a lot less people than expected. Hello my friends, and welcome back to another Advice for Magicians video where my job is to make you the best possible entertainers that you can be. In today's video we're going to talk about what to do when you show up to a gig and there's a lot less people there than the client initially told you. Sometimes the client will say, yeah, there's going to be like 300 people there, and then you show up and there's like 70, right? And they booked you for 3 or 4 hours. Well, now what do you do, right? Or sometimes, and I'm not saying this always happens, but sometimes a client might book you for walk-around magic, not knowing that when you do walk-around, what that means is that you're performing 5-7 minute sets for smaller groups of people. So you show up to a gig with like 20 people there and they booked you for an hour of walk around, and in their head they're thinking that you're going to be entertaining those 20 people for an hour, which isn't the case. If that's the case, they should book you for a formal close-up show. So in this video we're going to talk about a couple things. Number one, what to do when you show up to a gig and there's less people than they initially thought. And number two, how to prevent this from happening in the future. Now before I do that, I just wanted to thank all of my subscribers. If you clicked the subscribe button and rang the bell, you guys are always notified of all of my videos when I update new ones so you don't miss out on any of them. If you haven't already rang the bell or subscribed, please go ahead and do that. Also, I'd like to take this time to thank my members, those that clicked the join button. They support me by watching and liking all of my videos, as well as getting early access to videos, access to the tutorials playlist, and in some cases even direct one-on-one access with me where I can have live Zoom sessions with you guys and really help you to grow as a performer or as a professional. So I highly recommend, if you're interested in taking advantage of some of those perks, to check the membership tab right here on my channel and become a member. At this time I'd like to welcome some of our newest members. So ladies and gentlemen, please say hello to Tim Timerson, Bartley Rector, Bobby Baldwin, Dale Moore, and Cart. Thank you guys so much for becoming members. It's because of you and all of you who watch, like, and share my videos that I'm able to keep this channel going. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. So what do you do when you show up at a gig and there's a lot less people there than you initially thought there was going to be? Because this happens sometimes. Sometimes the client expects there's going to be 300 people and you show up and only like 70 people are there. Maybe they sent out RSVPs and 300 people RSVP'd, but only 70 people showed up, right? Or maybe they didn't send out RSVPs and they were just shooting in the dark. They were like, yeah, like there'll be 300 people there. And they don't account for that. And so now they've booked you for like 2 or maybe even 3 hours of walk around for what you thought was going to be 300 people, only to find out that you get there and there's only 70 people or so there now. So what do you do? There's a couple of different ways that you can approach this. You do not want to perform for those 70 people all in the first hour and then spend the next 2 hours sitting on your ass doing nothing, right? You really don't want to do that. The client doesn't want to see that because they're paying you to entertain people. But on the other hand, you also don't want to be spending 20-30 minutes with each group performing for them to fill out that full 3-hour time slot that they have you booked there for, right? So what can you do in this instance? If you haven't already watched my video on pocket management and strolling events, I recommend that you watch that one after you're done watching this one, because I'm going to talk a little bit about the different sets that you can perform for different groups and whatnot, having an A set and a B set, and in some cases even a C and D set if you're able to do that, right? That way you can maximize the time that you have with the different spectators. But there's only so much you can do. You can only stretch out that performance so much. In that video I talked about only performing for maybe 10 minutes for each group, having about 10 minutes worth of material on you that you can do for each group, right? So what do you do if there's only 70 people there and they have you booked for 3 hours, right? So one thing that I might recommend to the client is, instead of doing 3 hours of walk around, how about I do 2 hours of walk around and a 30-minute formal stand-up show for everybody all at once? That's going to knock out 1 hour for everybody, right? And then you only have 2 hours now of going and performing for individual groups close up. Let's just say they agree to that. Well, now how do I stretch out that 1 hour's worth of people into 2 hours? This is where the mingling aspect of mingling walk around magic comes into play. Because a lot of times what magicians that are doing walk around like to do is they go in, they introduce themselves, hi, I'm the magician, you guys want to see magic? And then boom, 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 they hit them with magic tricks. And then as soon as the last effect is done and they got their applause, thank you so much for watching, everyone, I'll see you guys later. And then you move on to the next group, right? You don't have to do that necessarily. You can let it breathe a little bit in between effects. So what I like to do in this case is walk up, introduce myself to everybody, shake everybody's hand. I'm the magician. Would you guys like to see something fun? And now you're going to perform your opener for them, whatever that may be. For me, it's my sponge ball opener with my invisible purse. I do that, blah, 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 blah. I put it away and they clap. Now, normally what you would do if you were short on time is move into your middle effect and then move on to your closer, right? Well, in this case, I have a lot of time to spend with people, so I'm going to let it breathe. I'm going to ask some questions like, how are we doing this evening? How do we know the bride and groom? Or what if this is a company holiday party, what is it that you guys do at your company, or whatever. You can have just back and forth conversation with people. A lot of time what I notice is that people ask me questions and sometimes I don't really have time to answer them. Well, in this case, you do have time to answer them. So answer those questions. Spend some one-on-one time with your spectators. Believe it or not, they are people, so we can treat them as such, right? We can have an actual conversation with them rather than just performing at them, right? So a lot of times they'll ask me questions like, you know, is this your full-time gig, or is this something you do on the side for fun? Why are you here? How long have you been doing magic for? How did you get started in magic? Have you performed for anyone famous? Blah, blah, blah. They'll ask you a bunch of these questions and feel free to answer them, right? And then you roll into your second trick, perform that, and then mingle some more, ask some more questions. I like to walk around with a glass of whiskey in my hand, right? Or a Guinness or whatever I got while I'm chatting with people, so that while we're having a conversation, I can sip my drink, right? We're chatting. I sip my drink, I set it down, I say, here, you know what? Let me try something else. And then I roll into my next effect and then my closer, and then I thank everyone so much for watching. And then I move on to the next group. So I took that 7-8 minutes worth of magic and stretched it into 15, maybe even more minutes, because I am engaging with people. I'm interacting with them. I'm not just performing 15 or 20 minutes of magic. I'm still only performing the same amount of magic, but again, I'm letting it breathe, right? So that's how you handle it when you show up to an event with less people than you thought. Believe it or not, though, you can prevent this from happening as best as possible. And the way that I do that is when I'm on the phone, in the moment, booking the gig with the client, I will ask them specific questions. Like, number one, how many people do you expect to be there? When they tell me a number, I will tell them, is this number based on a guess? Did you send out RSVPs? You know, how do you know how many people are going to be there? And if they say something along the lines of, I'm just shooting in the dark there, right? Or, I sent out RSVPs and like out of the 100 that I sent out, 80 people RSVP'd yes that they're going to be there, right? It's at that moment now that I explain to the client exactly what it is to book a strolling walk around magician, right? So I tell them, I'm going to be mingling with your guests, doing shorter performances for smaller groups one at a time, right? So in the back of their mind, you want them to know that you are going to be entertaining your guests, but if only 10 or 15 people are going to show up, there is going to be a chance that instead you might turn it into a formal close-up situation. Now, for pricing, this can become a little bit dicey, right? So the way that I've structured my pricing is that 1 hour of walk around and 30 minutes worth of formal close-up performance are the same price. And that's done on purpose so that I don't have to do any last minute calculations or anything. So when I walk in on the day and there's only 20 people there and they said that 80 people were going to show up, I can tell them, you know, rather than walking around for an hour and just performing for smaller groups. Why don't we get everyone together? Why don't we bring them into the living room, or I'll set up a small little stage area over here in the corner. We can have everyone surround me and I can do a proper show for everybody. It's a 30-minute full close-up performance. It's very interactive. I'll have volunteers come up and help me out and all of that stuff. And that way everyone gets 30 minutes of magic rather than just a few minutes of magic. And then the rest is spent with me just kind of walking around and standing there awkwardly holding a beer saying, so, how's your day going, right? And I explain all this to the client while I'm on the phone with them. A lot of the times, I'll tell them on the day, if something changes, I am flexible, right? I'm willing to work with them on this. And again, it's the same price. So I don't have to do any last minute calculations. I don't have to adjust numbers or invoice them for this or bill them for that. It's all just included already in our agreement that on the day, they're booking me for an hour of walk around, but that could change into a 30-minute performance. This is just going to help you guys out in the long run. There are sometimes, very slim, but sometimes there are spectators that think that they can, finesse you or, I don't want to say scam, that's too harsh of a word, but they like to try to massage that, number a little bit where they'll say, well, I want an hour-long show, but I don't want to book you for your formal close-up show because your show is X amount of dollars and it's only 30 minutes. But I noticed your walk-around is an hour, so I'm going to hire him for walk-around to perform for the 10 or 20 people that are going to be there, and then now he'll be performing for an hour, right? And so again, I explained to the client, no, I don't perform for an hour when it's walk around. It's very low key, it's casual, I mingle, I walk around with the drink in my hand, and I do magic for smaller groups. But the magic is only 5 to 7 minute sets that I'm performing for each group. So walk around would be more suited if you had like 50 or 100 people there, not just 10 or 20. For 10 or 20, you're gonna wanna book me for my 30-minute show. If you want an hour-long show, I have another package for that, but it costs this much instead. So again, a lot of this can be, avoided right up front if you're just transparent with your clients during the booking process. You don't want to make them think that by booking you for an hour of walk around with 10 or 20 people showing up that they're going to get an hour's worth of magic, because that just isn't how it works. Anyway, I'm curious to know how you guys like to handle this situation. Has this ever happened to you? And if it has, what did you do to sort of remedy this, to fix the situation, and what can you do to prevent it? Please let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. I'm sure everyone else would love to hear from you as well. If you haven't already done so, you enjoyed this video and want to see more just like it, please click the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and click like. Tell the algorithm that you enjoyed this video and let the algorithm push this video out to other people so that they can see it too. And if you want to support me, you're more than welcome to click the join button as well. Make sure to check the membership tab for more information on the different tier levels and what works best for you and your budget. My name is Michael O'Brien. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.